Today I'm taking you inside my healthy but kind of messy smoothie cabinet. I'll share all the best protein powders, supplements, and superfoods that I put into my gluten-free and dairy-free breakfast smoothies. Stay tuned for my carefully curated healthy smoothie ingredients tour. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Clean Eating Kitchen. I'm Carrie, and this is my channel where I share real food recipes and tips so you can feel your best. I have a master's degree in public health with a specialty in nutrition. I'm also a woman recovering from chronic health issues, including PCOS and autoimmune disease. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, please subscribe so you don't miss a video. As I mentioned in the intro, today I'm going to be taking you on a tour of my healthy smoothie ingredient cabinet. And this video is a result of my last video where I shared what I eat in a day as a woman recovering from chronic illness. I asked at the end of that video if looking more deeply into this cabinet might be something you're interested in, and you said yes, so that's where we are today. As you can see, the cabinet is a bit of organized chaos. I pretty much know where everything is, but it does come across as a little bit messy, and that's probably just because I have such a variety of different items. But I'm going to go through the ingredients in a pretty straightforward way. First, I'm going to share a really basic recipe for a simple green smoothie, including the fruits and vegetables that I use. These are obviously items that I don't keep in my cabinet, but I keep in my freezer or fridge, but I thought it might be important to go over those as well. And next, I'll share items that I put as the base of the smoothie, including the healthy fats that I always include. Next, I'll share some of my favorite protein powders, and these are all gluten-free and dairy-free. Lastly, I'll share some of those superfood powders and supplements that I usually add to my smoothies to add nutrition and flavor. And these are things like cacao powder, vitamin C powder, mushroom powder, broccoli sprout powder, and more. And finally, I'll share my thoughts on the best blender because I have tried quite a few different blenders and I have a few opinions I want to share with you. So let's go ahead and jump into today's video. And before you ask, I thought maybe we could also discuss briefly about why green smoothies can be a really important part of your diet, especially if you're recovering from chronic illness. Essentially, smoothies can be really healthy because they're easy to digest. They can be a great way to add in more fruits and vegetables into your diet. And then also they are easily customized to meet almost any dietary need. And for instance, you could add more protein power if you're more athletic, or you could add more greens if you just want that extra nutrition, or you can include like the superfood supplements that I'm going to talk about, but they can be really great for people of all different ages. So let's talk about a very basic green smoothie recipe, which would include 2 cups of any kind of a liquid base. I most often use like a non-dairy milk, so that could be like an unsweetened almond milk, or you could use coconut milk, or if you aren't dairy free, you could use yogurt or regular milk as well. But you want to start with that liquid base in your smoothie. And if you're using a high-speed blender, or really any kind of blender, it's always recommended to put the liquid portion of your recipe at the bottom because that's going to make it easier for your blender to get started with the blending. So after you add your liquid base, and for a 2-person smoothie, you'll probably need between 1 to 2 cups of a liquid base. Next, you're going to add, I would say, about 1 to 2 cups of frozen fruit. And the type of fruit matters. We'll get a little bit more into that later, but I usually try to balance fruits that have soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. And I know that sounds like very technical, but the bottom line is that fruits with soluble fiber like bananas, pears, and mango in particular will give a really creamy feel to your smoothie. And then fruits without soluble fiber like berries, they create more of like an icy texture. And so it's nice to have a balance of the two. So I actually don't eat a lot of bananas. My husband loves frozen bananas in his smoothie, but I will often use frozen mango instead because I'll still get that creamy texture, but not the strong banana flavor. And then, of course, frozen mango or frozen banana or even a pear, they pair They pair really well with almost any berry that you can find, any frozen berry. So that could be strawberries, boysenberries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, whatever kind of berry you can come up with. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the base of the smoothie. And I mentioned that I try to include a healthy fat with each of my smoothies. So going back to the basic recipes, we're going to have the 2 cups of a liquid, the 1 to 2 cups of frozen fruit, and next we're going to include like about 2 servings of some kind of vegetable. And it could either be a frozen vegetable, or I often like to use steamed greens. And I talked about this in my last video, is that I find that steaming my greens makes them easier to digest, and it can also reduce oxalates, which some people have to be concerned about if you have kidney stone issues or you get like joint pain issues. That can be a problem for people with autoimmune disease. If you find that if you're eating a lot of raw greens and you have sore joints afterwards, then you might try steaming your greens, because steaming foods that are high in oxalates can help remove quite a high percentage of those oxalates. And so I do that with all my kale or spinach or any collard greens, any type of dark leafy green that is known to be high in oxalates, like Swiss chard. I steam them, and then I kind of use the tongs to squeeze out as much of the liquid as I can. And I know some people might say, oh, but that liquid is nutritious, but the liquid is what will contain more of those oxalates. So I discard the liquid and I just use those steamed greens, about 2 servings per smoothie, and put them right in with the frozen fruit and the liquid, and then there you go. And then the last thing is you want to add about 2 servings, 1 to 2 servings of some kind of a healthy fat. So if your liquid base is like coconut milk, that will also contain fat within it. But if you used almond milk usually does not have fat in it, especially if you buy a boxed prepared kind. And so you're going to need to add some healthy fat into your smoothie. And I would recommend like a wide variety of things you can add. You could include avocado, believe it or not. You could include hemp seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, nut butters, seed butters, and the amount that you use is just going to really depend on how rich or filling that you want your smoothie to be. I would recommend about 1 to 2 tablespoons for this very basic recipe of almond butter, and then you're good to go. And then the only other thing that you could add to your basic recipe would be any kind of additional add-ins like cinnamon or cacao powder or cocoa powder if you want to add a chocolate flavor. But really the sky's the limit as far as the other things that you can add. And those will be some of the things that we're going to go through when we go through my smoothie cabinet. So let's go ahead and go into the cabinet, and then I will talk about exactly what the items are. Okay, so let's go through some of these items in my cabinet, and I'm going to show you the packages in case that you want to purchase them yourself. And I will try to link to the items, especially items from Amazon, in the description below. You can see this bag of hemp hearts, which is the same thing as hemp seeds, comes from Costco. I do like to buy organic, and 1 serving has 10 grams of protein, so it's actually a pretty good source of plant-based protein and also has healthy fats. Another item that you can try are flax seeds, which would be a great source of fiber. I like this brand. They are organic. And I will sometimes grind these, but in a high-speed blender like a Vitamix or a Blendtec, they do get really ground up. Makes it so your body can absorb the nutrition. Another item will include our pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds. And what I'll do is include like 1 to 2 tablespoons of any of these seeds. And that kind of mixed with the liquid in the smoothie, it adds nutrition and it almost creates like a homemade dairy-free base, if that makes sense. Now let's talk about protein powders. Now, because I am gluten-free and dairy-free, I can't do anything like whey protein or anything that's dairy based. And so I have to stick with either plant based or paleo proteins. I like this one. It's a marine collagen, and I actually use this one more for my husband because he has a beef sensitivity, and this comes from wild caught fish. I will link this in the description box below, and then you can actually see it tells you exactly what kind of fish. So if you know that you have some kind of a fish allergy, usually it'll tell you exactly what kind of fish. This one comes from cod, pollock, haddock, and hake. I don't know how to pronounce that. Hake. So those it says whitefish. So this one works well for him. And then I like to use this one, Vital Proteins. This one does come from beef, and the beef are grass-fed, pasture-raised, so that's very important. I believe this is also a certified organic. I guess it isn't certified organic. Oops. I guess it isn't certified organic, but I might try to look for something like that. But I also got this at Costco, so it's a good price. And one serving has 20 grams of protein. Now, a lot of people don't know that collagen protein is actually not a complete protein, but it is a good source of, you can see it includes all these amino acids, but it's not considered a complete protein, but it is a great protein to include in smoothies. It blends really easily and it doesn't have any flavor. Now for a source of complete protein, you may have seen this on my channel before because I am an affiliate with this company. It's called Equip, and I will include my affiliate link and a coupon code in the description box. But if I want a complete protein, which I usually do, also I'll combine the collagen and some type of a complete protein. But this is grass-fed beef isolate powder. And you can see it's free from gluten, dairy, whey, soy, hormones, antibiotics, blah, blah, blah. So this is an unflavored one. I often do stick with unflavored protein powders because since I have a lot of sensitivities, I just like to keep it as simple as possible. And I believe this is only one ingredient. The ingredient is grass-fed beef protein powder. And this actually comes from meat, and so it is a complete protein, and this blends really well as well. So this is a good brand, and it is expensive. I'm not sure of the exact price, but you get what you pay for, especially in terms of protein powders. For another protein option, I wanted to show you this egg white protein, and I use this sometimes with my husband's smoothies if I'm making one especially for him. This brand used to have an organic one. I haven't been able to find it recently, but this is unflavored, and I do prefer the organic version, but it's, you can see one serving has 25 grams of protein. It's very low carb. I personally have a sensitivity to egg whites, so I don't use this, but it's a great protein powder. And this is a complete protein. And my last favorite protein powder, I know this is going to be a little controversial, but it's actually cricket powder. And before you completely write it off and say, oh, that's disgusting, gross, whatever, you cannot taste it. You can see it's ground into a very fine brown powder. This one is 100% crickets. Also, they've rebranded. Instead of calling it cricket, they're calling it Akata, which I guess is more like the scientific name. But it's dairy-free, gluten-free. This protein powder is very special, actually. And I have an article on my website all about cricket protein powder. I think people should not write it off, especially for people like me and maybe you, if you have a lot of food sensitivities, like without being able to eat eggs, dairy, gluten. This is a nice option. Of course, it's not vegan or vegetarian because it comes from an insect, but it's highly sustainable. And I don't know, for some reason people freak out when I mention cricket protein powder and have like a visceral response. But I think that we're going to see it more and more in the news and in society. And I just wouldn't write it off until you've tried it. Or if you've never been able to eat protein powders, this might be a good option. It is a complete protein. And let's just talk about a few of the add-ins. I mentioned that I like cacao powder. This one is a nice option. Now, there's been some news recently that chocolate products have been found to have heavy metals within them. I'm not sure where this one was on the list. I was doing a little research the other day, and I did buy a bag of cacao powder that is in the mail, and it supposedly has been tested for having low cadmium levels, but I haven't received it yet. So in the meantime, I'm using this one. If you don't like cacao powder, you can just use regular cocoa, baking cocoa. I really like this brand. It is organic. It is Dutch processed, and I know some people don't like that. They think it's more processed. But if you're sensitive to the other one I just showed, cacao, this is actually cocoa, and I find it to be a little less, I find it to be a little bit easier to digest than the cacao powder. You probably saw this item in my video, my last video, the What I Eat video. This is a vitamin C powder. It comes from Whole Foods. It has the ingredient label here. I won't read it all, but I like to just put a little bit of this in my smoothie. It doesn't really add flavor, but let's see, 1/4 of a teaspoon has 180 milligrams or 200% the daily value of vitamin C. So that's just a little extra added bonus that I like to add into the smoothies. I have a jar here of ground cinnamon. Of course, cinnamon is great for blood sugar, actually. There's a lot of research on that. So, and of course it has great flavor. So I buy it in bulk. I don't have the bag here, but I do get an organic brand, and I get the real cinnamon. So let me see if I can find a package here. Okay, I found the bulk package. This is ground Ceylon cinnamon. I get it online, Frontier Co-op, and this is organic. And Ceylon cinnamon is is known as the real cinnamon. And so you don't want to get the cassia, you want to get the Ceylon. Here's another item that sometimes I will add to the smoothie, especially in the springtime if my allergies, my seasonal allergies start picking up. It's bee pollen. It's a little bit expensive, but this package will last for a few years. You can see this is what it looks like inside, if you can see that. You just use a little tiny bit at a time, and I would also start off slowly to make sure that you don't have any sensitivity to it. So just use like a few of the granules at a time. That's what they look like. And just put those right into the smoothie and they get blended in. Now these two items are mushroom powders, and they are my most recent additions, new additions to my smoothie. I use the lion's mane and the chaga. Now, let's see, I use mostly this one for my husband, healthy aging, immune health, and then the lion's mane for me, or now I can't remember actually. I'm kind of getting them mixed up in my mind, but each one has scientific research, and of course there's other types of mushrooms that can be made into powders. You just need a little bit. I think it says the serving size is 1 teaspoon. I use less than that. And you know, you can look and try it for yourself if you want. I'll put these in the description box below. And in case you're wondering, the mushroom powders really don't have a lot of flavor, especially when you add them into your smoothie. And then for sweetness, sometimes I will add some blackstrap molasses into the smoothie. This is an unsulfured, organic, and it is it's a big jar. It lasts quite a while. I'll just use maybe 1 to 2 teaspoons per smoothie. It adds really nice sweetness, and then it also has plant-based iron, 3 milligrams or 15% of the daily value per serving. So if you are a premenopausal woman and you're looking to get more plant or get more iron in your diet, blackstrap molasses is a nice source. So I also want to talk just briefly about the best blenders for making green smoothies. And I think having a high-speed blender is really important when you're making these types of smoothies, because the last thing you want is a chunky green smoothie, for lack of a better description. You don't want little pieces of your leafy greens floating around. You want everything to be very well blended and creamy. And really the only way that you're going to get a creamy texture and get all of your seeds and your greens very well blended is to use a high-speed blender. And the two best high-speed blenders on the market are Vitamix and Blendtec. And now they all have different models within their lineup, so that's kind of up to you as to whether or how much money you want to spend. I think a great intro model is the Vitamix Explorian, and you can actually find refurbished ones on Amazon. This is a refurbished model. I do like this Vitamix. It's basic. Now it doesn't come with a bunch of programs. In other words, like a button that you can push for smoothie or soup. But if you don't need that, then you can spend maybe between, I think these are about $300, but you will get your money's worth out of any Vitamix model that you purchase for sure. And then my other favorite is a Blendtec, and I would say that Blendtec is the rival to Vitamix, but they're both excellent brands. I have I think the most expensive Blendtec because it has a noise canceling cover, and I do like that aspect. For me, it was worth the extra money because I make so many smoothies that it's nice to not have to cover my ears or put in earplugs every time I'm going to blend something. Both of these jars are made from BPA plastics, and they're easy to clean. You can clean them by hand or you can put them in the dishwasher. So I do think it's worth the investment of several $100s to get a high-speed blender, especially if you're going to be making a lot of smoothies. And of course, you can use these blenders to make other recipes like soups. You can make banana ice cream, which is just frozen bananas blended up in one of these high-speed blenders. So they're really versatile. They are an essential part of my healthy kitchen, and so I hope that these recommendations were helpful. So before we go, I want to know, what is your favorite healthy smoothie ingredient, especially something that maybe I didn't cover in this video. I'm always looking forward to learning about new things, and I learn from you just as much as you learn from me. So please share that in the comment section below. And if you're looking for some actual recipes, I have a whole playlist for dairy-free smoothies, and I will link that here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.